G'day guys, welcome back to Supercoach with DR and welcome to the first Q&A session of Preseason 2022. Thanks very much to anyone that has left a question down there in the comments section. I did also put a quick post up on Twitter, would have been about 3-4 hours ago now, just asking for any last minute questions there. So I'll get to the ones on YouTube first and then I'll get into my Twitter and I'll do my best to answer those ones as well. So look, hope you're all going well. I think the opening for Supercoach, the official opening is on the 28th of Jan. Could be a day out, I'm not too sure, don't quote me on it. But for us Supercoach Gold subscribers, we've been toiling with our teams for over a month now. So look, some great questions here, I think, some tough questions. I certainly don't profess to have all the answers, but I'll give you my opinion and I'll do my best to help you out where I can. So look, let's just get straight into it. What are there, about 39 here, then we'll get into the Twitter ones. First one is from my man Dylan Twaddle. G'day Dill, how are you mate? Hey DR, with COVID most likely being around may interrupt the season, has it changed your thinking of just picking uber safe premiums instead of taking more risks on mid prices? Hope you're doing well mate. Cheers bro, hope you're doing well also. Look, it's a good question. Look, I am looking to go with those uber safe premiums where possible, but it's not necessarily because of COVID, mate. Look, I think with COVID, the issue is that no one's immune from it. And look, we're double vaxxed and they have to be obviously playing footy this year, but there's no difference to, or the chances, I don't think, of someone like Lockie Neal getting it and then a James Madden getting it, for example, mate. I think everyone's on a bit of a level playing field there. I know some players are more careful than others and all the rest, but yeah, not necessarily in regards to COVID, because I think that that's so unpredictable, mate, and there'd be a bit of guesswork around there. But as an overall sort of strategy for avoiding those mid prices, if possible, I'm all for it, mate, particularly in the midfield, buddy. But yeah, great question, mate. Really good question. AFL analysis, how are you, dude? G'day DR. Really like some of the cheaper premiums in midfield this year. Neil Walsh, Mitchell, or maybe even Kelly. So I can't start all of the big four. I'm assuming your big four. So what's that? Oliver, McRae, Steele, and Oliver. How would you rank McRae, Steele, Miller, and Oliver? There you go, mate. So look, it's like one of those questions where someone asks you, and parents can relate to this, which child do you love the most? You know, I've got two beautiful boys that I love to death, and I can't rank my two boys. You know, I love them both. So it's pretty much the same with these four players. I'm finding it really, really hard to separate them. So I'm just locking all four in from the start, mate. McRae, Steele, Miller, Oliver. So let's take a quick look at the numbers here. So you look at McRae, you know, back from 2017, 106.9, and then look at this uber jump, you know. So this bloke's done it for the last 4 years. 127.1, 123.2, 121, and then 128.6 last year. And it's funny because I've started him all the way from 2018 up to 2020, and I got spooked last year, you know, with Treloar coming in. Didn't know what was happening with the Dogs midfield. So that's not a mistake that I'm going to make again this year. I'm just locking him in from the start. 700k, we're paying up big, but look at the numbers, mate. So I've probably got to have him at number one, just based on his history and what he's been able to do for a very, very long time now. We'll take a look at Touk Miller. I'm not going to talk too much about him because I did put out a 15-minute player profile on him where I'll go through almost every stat possible. But we look at him compared to someone like a Jack McRae, simply doesn't have the runs on the board. But look at that season last year, 124.5. Again, I'm not going to go into great detail about him. I'm a massive, massive fan of Touk Miller. Hardest working player in the comp. Defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder, does it all for me. So, love Miller. Jack Steele, he's done it for the last couple of years with that 120 plus type average. Very similar player, I think, to Touk. 122.5, 126. What's the difference between these two players? He's done it for an extra year, and we've seen it since 2020. So, yeah, again, no reason for him to go backwards. I love him, so I'm locking him in. Then you look at Mr. Clary here. So, look, this bloke's done it from his second year of football. He's an absolute Supercoach beast. 111, 114, almost a 110, 122, 123 last year. So, you know that he's pretty much going to go around the mark again this year. I don't think there's any reason for him to go backwards. So, again, I just love all of the four. But if you're looking at me to rank them, and it's almost an impossible task, but to answer your question, almost flip a coin, roll a dice type thing. But for me, it's Jack McRae with that history, mate. Second, I said that Touk was going to be my first locked midfielder this year, but I'm just going Steele ahead of him purely because of those runs on the board, even though I think Touk is the hardest working player in the comp, as I said. And unbelievably, I'm probably going to have Clary at 4. Why is that? When you look at his history, talk about runs on the board, he's certainly got them. But I don't know, I just like the top 3 a little bit more. But again, I'm locking all 4 in. I can't really separate them, but it's a really, really tough question, and it's a good one. With Walsh, I love Walsh. He'd probably be my 7th pick, and Mitchell, he'd be my 6th pick. I've got him up here. Titch, you look at his history, since 2015, a couple of 104s, then he moves, obviously, 118.9, 129.1, misses with a broken leg, back for a 113.5, and last year 117.2. If you look at his average after the bye, then it's much higher than that as well. I was a Titch owner last year, so yeah, also love him as a selection, but Jelly, I would go nowhere near, mate. Just if you look at his average, history just at average, then yeah, great selection. But durability, look at how many games he misses each year on average. I just would not be going near there, mate. So yeah, love all the other players that you mentioned there, apart from Jelly. But very, very tough question to answer, buddy. Next one's from Connor. G'day, Connor. How are you, champ? Hey, dear. Was originally planning to start with all 5 of McRae, still took Oliver and Neil. Exactly what I'm doing, buddy. But with the mid-rookies that we have available that have the ability to score well and also the potential struggle to find rookies, I'm thinking go 4 deep in defence and cut back on one of the 5 primo mids. Have Berry at M5. I've got him at M6 at the moment, mate. I'm batting pretty deep, I know. This also allows me to upgrade a player in my, I'm sure it's defence, forward line as well. Thoughts on this idea? Yeah, look, mate, I suppose in the end we've got to do what we've got to do. Ideally, I want to start with 5, and the reason for that is I want to try to rectify a mistake that I made last year, and I'll quickly go, is this my team from last year? Yeah. So these are the blokes that I ended with. I ended in my midfield with McRae, Titch, Oliver, Zeret, Walsh, all pretty solid picks here, I know. And then Jelly, Boak, and I did, there's a lot of DPP action going here, I can't change it. But also had Laird finished in there as well with a 116 average. But look, if you look there, there's some big names missing. Where's Parrish? Where's Bont? Where's Took? Where's Steele? Yeah, there's a lot of omissions here. Where's even a Jared Lyons? I was missing some of the big dogs. And the issue is that you've really got to pay up for them during the season, and it's hard to find the funds that are required sometimes. You've got to pay 600 plus most of the time for these big dogs, if not 650, like I had to with Jack McRae last year. And so that that's another reason why I couldn't get on Steele and these types, because I just didn't have the money. I had to skimp and go with a Travis Boak or a Josh Kelly type. I don't want to have to do the same thing this year because I think it really hurt me, mate. So yeah, back to your question. I suppose that's why I'm locking in the big 5, but I can certainly see where you're going with this question, because look, we may not have that luxury because there may not be the rookies available in our defensive line, for example, and we may need to go 4 deep. Now, the issue with that is there's a lot of water to go under the bridge, and the rookies always dictate our structure. So, look, if we have to do that, then I'm going to have to make that really tough decision and possibly drop one of those big elite Uber midfielders and maybe invest in the back line. Who knows? Maybe in the forward line. I'm not too sure, but yeah, if I've got to do it, I will look to do it, mate. But at this stage, I'm just going to set my structure as it is, lock in those 5 big dogs, because I think there's also 5 captaincy options there as well. And if I have to go, more solid in defence or in the forward line, then I'll just cut them if I think I have to do that, maybe closer to the start of the season, I think, mate. And I've already got some backup plans in my defensive line, in my in my forward line as well. So just play it as it comes, I think, mate. But really, really good question. And I don't mind you doing that either, mate, having those 4 uber mids in the midfield and then stacking the back line a bit more. That's okay as well, man. That's just my structure personally, but I'm doing with the 5 big mids. Next one, Greg Davies. G'day, Greg. How are you, mate? G'day there. Not really keen on having all the top 4 mids in my team this year. So it's going to be a very common question, I think. Just want to pick 2. Who would you recommend to go with out of McRae, Steele, Mill and Oliver? Man, it's hard. I've already decided on Walsh. Fair enough, man. If you want to go Walsh, I'm not going to try to talk you out of it. Neil and Brayshaw as my other 3 midfielders. Cheers, mate. Okay. Look, I may try to talk you out of maybe only starting 2 of those, mate. Neil, I'm a massive fan of because, look, he just had an injury-interrupted season last year. And if we look at this man's numbers, man, he's got the potential to be number 1 again this year. Do I think that he will be? No, I don't think number 1. Top 6, yes, I think. He's having a flawless preseason. Off the field, things looking pretty good there. So massive fan of Neil. Brayshaw, I think he's one of the blokes that can go to that uber elite. So massive, massive fan of the Brayshaw pick if you want to pick a breakout option. And we could already argue he's broken out, but he hasn't broken out to that, 125, 120 plus range yet. And Walsh as well. Look, this bloke could be anything, mate. But I just think that the top 4 are a lot safer than Walsh and Brayshaw in particular, mate. So, look, if I had to answer your question, 4 of them, you just want 2. I'm going McRae and Steele, I think, mate. Just. But I love the other 2 as well. So, no disrespect at all to Tuke or Oliver. I can't believe I'm not rating Tuke in the top 2. I probably should. I've got that much man love for the bloke. But yeah, hopefully I've answered that question, mate. It's a very tough one, though, buddy. Thanks, Greg. ST, how are you, man? All good, DR. A man's got to have an outlet. Thanks. You were talking about the fact that I haven't put much content out there, as you would have seen, because you would have replied to this video. Just been doing these toys, mate. I do love it, though. Massive passion of mine. Do you think Gaundy will be the way to go, or will Darcy officially be the go-to option? Look, I'm all in on Darcy at this stage, man. I'm going Darcy and Grundy. If Luke Jackson wasn't a Melbourne player, I'd be going, what do you call it? Gaundy. Yeah, what is? I've butchered it, mate. I'd be going Gawn and Darcy if Jackson wasn't in the side. But I just think with the emergence of Jackson, yeah, I'm not as confident on Gawn and his ceiling anymore. So I just think Grundy's going to be that safe option. Still the main man there at Collingwood. So I think Darcy could be anything, mate, and could be number 1 this year. And then I'm pretty much just going to lock in Grundy at this stage. But, you know, Darcy, possibly injury prone, but I just can't ignore his ceiling, mate. This bloke, yeah, could do anything. So, yeah, those 2 for me, mate. Therese, how are you, mate? Hey, mate, hope you've been doing well. Have been, thank you very much. Hope you have too as well, man. What are your thoughts on the whole Dacos Horne-Francis situation? Good one, man. Spills has actually put a bit of a video out about that, so check that out. Do we need both of them in the team or just one? If only one, who should it be? It's a really tough question, man, because look, I'm no expert on the rookies, but I've got Dacos currently. Look, I've heard he could be playing off the half back, which could be a pretty friendly role. Horne-Francis probably playing more of that half forward role, I think. I think he averaged around 88 in the Sandful playing that role. We've seen him play against some more mature bodies, so like that about Horne-Francis. But, you know, I suppose Dacos is a little bit more of an accumulator, although Horne-Francis certainly can accumulate the ball as well. Contested, I like that side of Horne-Francis' game. Now, look, you certainly don't have to start with 2. I'm not starting with 2 at this stage. I may, though, but the trouble is I'm a real big fan of Berry. And I've currently got him at M6, so I can't fit in the 2 at this stage. If I didn't have Berry, maybe I would. I'm not too sure, but probably Dacos at this stage for me, mate. And there's not a lot of thought or reasoning behind that. Dacos, I just think, is an absolute freak, as is Horne-Francis. But look, I can't see too many teams without Dacos. I've seen a few more without Horne-Francis, so I'm more just going to go with the crowd, I think, on that one, mate. But certainly can have 2, depending on your structure. With my personal structure, I can't really have the 2 at this stage with Berry, though, mate. Bunchley, how are you, buddy? How many high-end rookies will we need, do you think? By the way, lovely content, mate. Much appreciated, mate. Appreciate the kind words there. Look, to be honest, mate, I don't think there's an answer to the question. I don't think there's a rule as to how many high-end rookies you've got to have. I think it's how you rate the rookies, mate. So, look, there's some blokes like your Mac Andrew that I'm just not going to touch them, like a Sam Darcy, a Finn Callaghan at this stage. I don't think I'm going to go near. But at the same stage, I'm a big fan of some of those rookies that are around the 123k mark. So I don't think there is a rule, mate. It all depends on how you rate them personally. So who have I got? The higher price rookies, I've got Dacos at the moment. I'm trying to think. The other blokes that aren't really high price rookies, well, I've got Sin at the moment in my back line, who's about 155 around that mark. I've got Brody Kemp at this stage, who's a second year rookie, but I think he's got potential. Leclerc is out at the moment, but he's around that 140 mark. He's been in my side. I've been flirting with Ward there, with Rochelle for a little bit, but these blokes currently aren't in. So, yeah, it's. I don't think there's an answer to the question. As I've said, that's probably a long-winded answer, but yeah, it depends on who you rate personally, mate. But usually some of these higher-end rookies do have better job security, do have better scoring potential, but you can't have too many of them at the same stage. But it is always a good idea to just chuck a few in just as fillers, because if for some reason they don't come through, then you've got money to go down, then you can spend that money elsewhere, mate. I wouldn't be filling your bench with 102k rookies. That's an absolute disaster. Just at least go 117 to 123 if you can. Chuck a couple of 102k ones there. If you rate the 102k ones, that's a different story. But yeah, just be careful with stacking too many of those lower price ones there, man. Benny Butcher, g'day, mate. How are you? G'day, been looking at Jack Graham. He's a real pod, isn't he, mate? As an option in the forward lines, I think he's the man to step up in the Tigers midfield as they need someone young too. What are your thoughts? If he gets a midfield role, I think he can average 95 to 100, which is top six-ish. Man, what a pod. What a pod, Jack Graham. Look, I've had a look at his numbers as well, mate, because I'm looking for names in the forward line. I'm getting pretty desperate at the moment. Main issue, if you look at last year, is that he doesn't have a huge ceiling. I think he went maybe a 141s, a couple of 120s. I think he only went above the 100 5 times. Maybe wrong there, mate. Lots of scores in the 50s as well. The good thing about him is that he's a bit of a tackling beast. He can be a good defensive midfielder if you can add that attacking side to his game. Actually, there has been a couple of games where he's gone a 3, couple of 2s, I think, with regards to kicking goals. Look, it's tough. To step up to 95 to 100, I think it's about a 15-point jump for him. In the Tigers mid, look, he will need to step up in that midfield, mate. You're definitely right there. It's a big if. So if we see in the preseason that he is one of the main men in there, then yeah, he could have some potential. And I think if you're going to look for a breakout contender, and you'd probably call Graham a breakout contender, I think, in the forward line, then that's a spot to do it. Forward line, possibly back line, although I think there's some really safe defensive options. So if you're going to do it in your forward line, I think, this year. I don't mind the pick, mate, but there's a lot that needs to go right with him. So probably for me, doesn't have the disposal count either. I think he only went above 23 disposals twice last year as well, which is a concern. But again, that's probably due to role in some way as well. So yeah, if you're looking for a pod, certainly take a close look at him, mate. Monitor him during the preseason. But there's a lot that will need to go right, I think. Just in my opinion anyway, though, Bud. But I love the fact that you're looking at these type of names, and he is a legitimate name to actually look at, dude. Good job. Daryl Hall, mate, one of the regulars of the channel. G'day, Daz. Hope you're well, champion. There's a read more here. So, oh, mate, there's a bit here, Daz. We'll get to it, mate. Hi, dear. Trying to take my game to the next level this year, and although I've got my own plans, always good, mate. I'd love to know your thoughts. Appreciate that, man. As I finished top 4K last year, and that's a great result, mate, I think. 2,700 points behind Emily. Didn't Supercoach Mama just have an absolutely smashing season? Congratulations to you, Emily. She's a lovely person as well, so couldn't pick a nicer person that's happened to. I got a few things wrong, Daz, as we all did, buddy, as we all did. How many mid-prices would you recommend and how to use them? As stepping stones or hopeful primos, e.g. Z, Bull and Hall last year? Also, do you prefer those returning from injury or breakout contenders? What a bloody good question, mate. Oh, look, okay, so do I prefer to use them as stepping stones or hopeful primos? Look, in an ideal world, mate, it's hopeful primos, isn't it? Look, if they can end up as primos, that's absolutely fantastic because you don't actually have to trade them out and then bring someone else in. And if they are primos at the end of the day, then they've done even better than what you're expecting, I think, a lot of the time. So it also depends on the price point as well, mate. I think that if you're spending, 350k plus on a player from basically any line, you're expecting them to be primos. I think that's probably too much as a stepping stone. That's just my personal opinion anyway, mate. But if you're looking at that 250, maybe pushing a 300k mark, 300k is the absolute limit for me as a stepping stone, I think. Then sure, it depends on the price point though, I think there, mate. How many mid prices would you recommend? Well, it depends what mid prices are available, mate. What do you, define a mid pricer as? To me, it's probably over 200k. To a 350k, maybe 400k mark. I'm not too sure. Everyone's got their own different opinions on that. But, well, who have I got? I've just chucked Brody out of my side, but I've replaced him with another bloke that's around that price range. So there's one. Cogs I've got, I think it's a no-brainer at 2. Berry I've got is at 3. And another bloke in my defensive line has been in and out as well. So that's 4. So 4 current mid-prices at the moment, mate. A couple of those I'd be looking to possibly be potential keepers, and the other 2 would be stepping stones. So that's just me, mate. I've got a 50-50 split at this stage. Next question, thoughts on how many rookies on each line? As mid and defense rookies generally outscore forward rookies, but then you compromise how many premiums you can have on those lines. Also, rookies like Butts last year, who turned out okay. I actually started Butts last year, mate, but didn't look a good pick at the start of the season. Excuse me. Again, mate, it's really hard to answer that question at this stage of the year. We need to get a better idea about who's firming for the 22 and what line they're on. But yeah, I really can't answer that at this stage, mate. But what I'd be doing is I'd just be getting your rating of potential rookies who you're looking at for number 1, job security, number 2, scoring potential, or vice versa, depending on how we go there. I'd have a list of blokes who you rate, work out how many of them you can realistically fit within your team, because a couple of maybe your Horn Francis, Dacos types. But at the same stage, it also depends on how deep you're going, mate. So I'm going 5 deep, uber primos in my midfield. So I haven't really got the opportunity to be fitting a lot of these type of rookies there, the lower price, because I'm pretty keen on a Dacos. I've got Berry in there as well. So for me, I can't be looking at a heap of rookies there. But again, if there are a lot of rookies there and maybe we're lacking some of the defensive or the forward line, then I may need to look to change my plans, mate. But tough at this stage, bud. And next one, how many genuine captaincy options do you start, especially with the decline in ruck scoring? Thanks, Daryl. Again, a really good question, mate. What at this stage, I think that I've got 6 legitimate captaincy options. And that's my first 5 selected midfielders, which is, and I won't repeat the name, but actually I will repeat it, McRae, Steele, Oliver, Touk, and Lockie Neal. And then Sean Darcy, I think, is an absolute freak as a captaincy option. And he's got a lot of Sunday games as well, which is handy if you're looking to select a captain. If you've got a really tough league match that you need to win, you can always look at what your other opponent's done and use Grundy maybe late on a Sunday as a bit of a late pod captaincy move. So how many do I like to start? At least 3 if possible, mate. But I've probably got 6. I've doubled what I probably started with last year. So 3 is ideal. Even more is a bit of a bonus, I think, Daz. But thanks very much for the question. Hope you're well also, buddy. Or questions. There was a few rippers there, mate. Next one, Thomas Longmire. G'day, Thomas. How are you, buddy? G'day, out. Really enjoyed your Touk analysis. Sold me the pick. Thanks, mate. Look, don't listen to me though, mate. I may get this wrong, but I'm a massive fan of you, mate. Just wondering if you do a similar video on Aaron Hall. Yeah, sure, man. If I've got the time, definitely happy to do that, mate. As I'm not sure who to select in defence, thinking Lloyd, Crisp, and Whitfield, mate. I love those 3 selections, and I've currently got 2 in my side at the moment. Also wondering how do you rank the big 4 in already answered that one, mate. So think of starting 3 of them plus Mitchell and Neil. That's fine, dude. I've probably talked too much about them, but you know my thoughts on them, mate. Getting back to Aaron Hall, I've currently selected him in my side, mate. Absolutely love the pick. But these next 3 that you got, yeah, I've got Hall and these guys as my top 4 at the moment, mate. So that's absolutely fine, mate. But happy to try to make a video on him, mate. I'd be interested in potential mid-price and midfield review as well. Dacos, Horn Francis, yep. McRae. Look, I don't know a lot about McRae, but one thing that I did see, right, was a photo of him from the 2021 preseason compared to now. This guy's put on size. He was looking like an absolute monster. But the man to ask for advice on McRae is George. George is a big fan of him, and if George is a big fan of a player, it certainly gets me very, very interested as well. So can't give you a lot on him. Dylan Stevens is another one. Hopefully got more opportunity now. Was even possibly looking to get traded. I think maybe to Collingwood in the preseason. Berry, I've already done a review video on. Big fan of him. Real, this man could be anything. I was really talking him up last preseason. Look, durability is obviously going to be a concern. I'm really worried about starting anyone over even the probably 275 mark in my midfield, mate. It's always a bit of a risk. But I do love Real as well. I'm just not going to look probably at him this year, mate. As well, what's your opinion on the top premium forwards? Currently have Dunkley, Heaney, and Butters. Yeah, well, Dunkley I'm a massive fan of, mate. Absolute lock for me. Heaney, I just can't do it, mate. I can't do Heaney. I've been tricked and baited before. Not happening this year. And Butters I've got on my side as well, mate. He's got a massive ceiling. Bloke could be anything, but yeah, not absolutely sold on Butters at this stage, mate. But thanks for that, Thomas. Good questions, bub. JD, the GOAT. How are you, JD? I hope you are going well, brother. Non-super. Oh, I've answered this first one. What's your most prized possession? It's actually a box Eternia from the Master of the Universe line. It's a massive, massive play set. worth a fair bit of coin at the moment, but there's a bit of a sentimental story to it. Look, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to, because I've had a bit of interest about the toys lately, I will do a separate video on the toys. So for anyone that is interested, I'll take you on a bit of a tour of my toy room. There's a fair bit to take in, and I'll show you a bit of stuff that I've got anyway in there. But no, I appreciate the question, JD. And the Supercoach question, which commonly selected player are you most concerned about? Yeah, this is a tough one, man. So, look, I haven't gone through all of the ownership percentages, but I'm guessing that Butters is going to be a pretty highly selected player. Probably Butters for me, mate, because we haven't seen exactly what he can do. We've seen his potential, and that's what we're picking him on, and a bit of data from the start of last year. His role, I'm not too sure on, I'm not too sold, but his ceiling I do love, mate. And with someone like Butters, I really think that he can be impactful all over the ground, but you notice the word I think. It's a lot of I think, and I hope with Butters. So, yeah, he's probably the man that's selected in a lot of sides that I've got the most question marks on. If you look at someone like a Cogs, we've got question marks on him, but the price difference is just massive, and absolutely every man and his dog, I think, has got Cogs. I'm not really concerned with my midfield, apart from maybe a Lockie Neal, mate. It's that durability. You know, is that going to be a thing from now on where we do need to be concerned about him? Remember in the past, mate, if you take last year out of the equation, one of the most durable plays, premium plays that we've seen. But yeah, maybe a few question marks over Neil, Berry. But again, if we look at his price point, mate, it's still pretty safe-ish, I think, at 265. At the absolute worst, he goes to 300k and a bit of a meh type pick. And then your back line, yeah, maybe a Lockie Whitfield I've got concerns about, mate, durability-wise. But it's not soft tissue, is it? It's just those wacky type injuries. So, yeah, probably those blokes, mate, if I could give you maybe one on each line. But, yeah, it's a really good question, mate. But, yeah, probably Butters out of anyone for me, I think. Thanks, JD. Hope you're well, brother. Confal, how are you, man? Do you see a risk in starting Touk over Clary this year? Touk's only had the one season. Again, that's what we're always worried about, mate. Clary more consistent, slightly lower ceiling this year, in my opinion. Currently leaning towards the trademark cheers. Yeah, well, I'll probably answer this one, mate. Touk but you're splitting hairs. I've got them both, mate. I love them both. But Touk by the slightest of margins, dude. Jono Carroll. G'day, Jono. How are you, buddy? G'day, dear. Hope you and the family are well during this time we're enduring. Yeah, you too, brother. Thank you for the kind words, mate. And, yeah, it's been a bugger of a last couple of years, hasn't it, mate? Just wanted to catch up on Zoom or Skype. 100%, man, on Sunday. When was this? 3 days ago. What's today? Today's Saturday. I've got a swap meet I'm going to in the morning, mate. I should be able to do it late afternoon, dude. So, yep, cool. Just give us a buzz, man. Super stuff. Thanks, John. Yep, cool, man. Can lock that in for sure, dude. Benny, how are you, Benny? Yeah, you've put some great comments in the preseason content so far, mate. Much appreciated. DR, I have roughly 250 to 250k for my D4. Slap Will Brody in there. D4. So I'm assuming that's F4 that you mean, mate, if you slap Brody in there for the time being. Knowing you also have him in your side, only ask one thing from you, and that's selling me the pick. Mate, I wish that I could say this pick, mate. I've actually dropped him in place of someone else, mate. But look, very quickly, mate, why did I have him in there as a bit of a filler at this stage? Well, exactly the same thing, mate. I need someone as a filler at that price, 250 to 250k. I was looking for someone that is not a rookie, someone that has been in the system for a little while. He sort of fit that bill. I was looking for maybe someone that has a new opportunity, a fresh start. He fit that bill. The price I like. His VFL numbers are absolutely superb. I think they have been for the last 4 years, particularly the last 2 years, I think, has been smashing it in the VFL. And I assume that, you know, with Cherry out, Fife getting older, Mundy sort of getting a little bit older in the tooth, that maybe there would be an opportunity there. I don't know if Walters is going to be just a permanent forward this year. So I thought, look, he ticks a few of those boxes, but does have a lot of question marks. The issue with him is, mate, you know, I read an article in the Western Australian, says, yeah, he's done really well, matched up really well against Angus Brayshaw, Andy Brayshaw, sorry. And then I go to someone like Big Footy, look at the preseason reports from there, and people are like, nah, he was garbage, stunk it up, wasn't effective. And you're like, damn, what do I believe here? So, look, he's someone that may come into contention, mate, if he's in that best 22. But, you know, you've got Brayshaw and Sarong, who I think are going to be absolute mainstays. Then you've got your Tuckers, your Crowdens, do the older blokes, spend a little bit of time moving through there. You know, he's got a lot of competition. Even Erasmus, Matty Johnson, Clark, is he going to be half back, wing, maybe half back? I'm not too sure, but there is actually a bit of competition there, mate. So if we're paying over 200k for someone, we want job security, mate. And at this stage, from the preseason reports, I've got no idea about his job security. And there's not a heap of Freo blokes that I know that currently have him in the best 22, mate. So I cannot say the pick, mate, because I've unsold him at this stage, or I've maybe just leased him out at this stage, but may jump back on him, mate. I'm going to listen out really, really carefully in the preseason. If he starts round 1, then I'll think about him really, really carefully, because obviously they're prepared to give him a chance, and he may be in the side for maybe 2-3 weeks, and maybe you can just trade him out as a correction trade before the start of round 3, mate. But great question. He's a player that's been giving me nightmares, mate. Losing sleep over him. Just don't know, though, at this stage, bud. Thanks for the question, though, dude. Michael Rubenstein. I don't think I've butchered that one, mate. G'day, Michael. How are you, mate? Dylan, Shield, and Stringer, good picks. Shield, I just don't like, mate. I've never really rated him as an Uber Elite. Stringer, different story, available in our forward line. Possibly, mate. He could be. He certainly comes with a few risks, but again, I'll repeat what I said before. If you're going to do it, it's in the forward line. I probably like a couple of players ahead of him. Similar like to Gowie, potential type pick. Where does he spend most of his time? Again, just going to pinch hit, then go forward. I'm not too sure. I'm assuming him to start a lot of the time in the middle and then just push forward. Definitely could have the potential to be a good pick, Stringer, mate. Shield, probably not for me, though. Tim English in the forward line, or Jackson as an emergency backup for Bruce. I'll be right out honest at the start, man. I don't like any of them. I haven't looked at any of them. Bruce I looked at for a little bit. Is this a good plan? Look, not for me, mate. Look, you can argue maybe a strategy could be if you're going Big Maxi Gawn and pair him up with Luke Jackson, maybe. One of them's going to be playing in the ruck at any stage during the game. Possibly there if you go with Max Gawn. But look, English, I don't even think that the Dogs rate him as a ruckman, so you're probably buying him maybe as a key forward, pinch hitting in the ruck. I'm not too sure. Jackson, look, he could be anything, but having Max Gawn there, I think that really limits his ceiling. Bruce, man, he's just too injury prone, man. I can see if you select Bruce and you're dead set on doing that, then you must have an emergency backup plan. But again, I don't like the emergency backup plans. If you could have Rowan Marshall as your emergency, yeah, I'm all for Rowan Marshall, but I just don't like English or Jackson, to be honest, mate. And what do you think's the best ruck combo? Darcy and Grundy? Yes, I do, mate. I think that is the best combo going into this year, mate. But yeah, just too risky, I think, playing around with those type of blokes. I'm not going to muck around, mate. I was thinking of mucking around early on in the preseason, but I've come to my senses. I'm going with 2 big boys. Maybe a Hayes, I think, is my R3, bud. Mia Downey. G'day, Mia. DR, thoughts on not starting 2 ruck primos? So another ruck question. Going for a cheaper option R2. I really enjoy Sam Draper as a player. I love Sam Draper as a player as well. Yeah, I think he could be elite one day. Could be breakout soon. I agree, soon he could be. And his Braden Bruce is very cheap. I think he is for a reason, though. Bruce, read more. Want to start Luke Jackson? Okay. So that could potentially give me some cover if something goes wrong. I think I've probably just answered this one, haven't I, Mia? Sam, look, in regards to Draper, we need a lot to go right, and if it goes wrong, you've just got no other options. So that's the issue with starting any sort of a mid-pricer in your rucks. If that pick goes wrong, then you're scrambling, and it could destroy your year. You may not be able to get up to a premium ruck to trade up to, and you're just going to be trading down. It happened with me a couple of seasons ago with Naismith to Pitney to Laddams to, I don't know which other blokes I had in there, but I wasted about 8 trades, I reckon, all up on my rucks. It was a nightmare. I'm just not going to make the same mistake again. Set and forget for me. It's Darcy and Grundy at this stage anyway. Greg Davies. G'day, Greg. What are your thoughts on Crisp? Looks to be the lead of 2022. Would you consider him a lock in the back line? I wouldn't consider him a lock, mate, but he is in my side, and I agree. Could be the lead of 2022. So I've currently got him in my side. Why is that? Well, if you look at the top 10 to 20 defensive options that we've got, there's not a heap of those blokes that are going to be full-time midfielders. So I'm looking at more of the accumulators this year over the intercept type defenders, and this bloke fits a bill, I think. So if you're looking at durability as well, he's Mr. Durable and the most durable player in the comp, I think, as well. So I think can improve on his average going into 2022. But I wouldn't say that he's an absolute lock. That's a very strong word, I think, lock, even though I've used it a few times already. But a big fan of Chris, mate. And I like your thinking. Could be the laird of 2022, Greg. Travis, g'day, Trav. How are you, buddy? DR, love the content. Thanks, Thanks, man. Question on Rayner. Looks like he'll be playing midfield this year. Can see high 90s. Definitely a cheap forward option. Thoughts? Mate, this is why I have not put out my Brisbane team review, because I'm just getting new and different info, mate. My personal opinion going into this year was I wasn't even going to look at him, because my expectations for him were very minimal. You know, he's a young player, coming back from a knee, played predominantly as a forward during his career. A few little stints in midfield, but nothing major so far. You know, what's the expectation for him? I was expecting him just to ease back into that forward role, but apparently not. Apparently he's lighting up the preseason. We hear this about a lot of players, I know, but he's primed for some midfield minutes, I think, this year. You know, Fags has mentioned the fact that his running has improved significantly, and that has now allowed him to be trained with the midfield, and that's what he needed to focus on. So in order for him to play those midfield minutes, he needed to work on his running ability, and he has been able to do that during this time off with his knee. So look, mate, it's tough. You know, if he's at this price, coming back from a full season last year, just say playing forward, then yeah. But the fact he's coming back from a knee, that really concerns me. But I'm actually going to take a close look at him, mate. I'm not rubbing him off my checklist at the moment. I've actually added him to my list of potential options, but you're paying that 50k more, aren't you, for some of the other options around the 220 to 230 mark. So could he be an option? Could he be relevant? For the first time this preseason, I'm going to say yes, that he could be. But high 90s, I think that's a bit of an ask, mate. I wouldn't be going high 90. I'd be, you know, maybe you can go an 85 if things pan out well. I am hoping he bloody goes high 90, mate, as a Brisbane supporter. But I think that's asking for a lot. But even at the 80s mark, he could still be relevant, depending on how you use him for your structure, mate. But yeah, good question about Cam. Can't give you a definite answer, though, at this stage. Crash Dummy, how are you, Crash? Hey, there are a lot of new Supercoach podcasts out there and content. There certainly are, mate. People doing some great stuff at the moment. What's your best overall rankings, and why should we listen to you? Not being rude, by the way, just curious, as we don't have time to follow everyone. CD. No worries, mate. No offense taken here, mate. You can ask me anything, mate. Look, to start off, there are certainly some really good guys out there when it comes to content creating. You know, the blokes I'll follow, George JD, Spills, the guys on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, Dr. Supercoach, these blokes. A lot of people on Twitter, Instagram, all the rest. But why should you listen to me? Look, you don't have to listen to me, mate, in a nutshell. I just try to give my opinion on different things, Supercoach. You know, obviously do the stock market videos each week, do my team reviews, obviously, you know, doing some Q&A sessions like I'm doing at the moment. But yeah, you certainly don't have to listen to me, mate. And I'm no messiah or anything like that. I'm certainly not an expert, but happy to give you my opinions and thoughts, mate. Best overall rank is, actually, I think I've got on my Twitter. So it's 33rd is my best overall rank. Here's the Twitter questions there as well. Here we go. So 33rd, 77th, 123, 184 last year, which was nice, and then 540th in 2018. So they're the top 5 ranks that I've had anyway, man. But yeah, don't necessarily listen to me, mate. There's some other great content out there, as I said. Make sure that you try to take a lot of opinions in, mate. But at the end of the day, trust your gut. Trust your gut. You don't have to listen to anyone, mate. Do your own research. Look at your own numbers. Crunch your own numbers. And yeah, I could absolutely butcher some picks, which I guarantee you that I will, mate. Hopefully I'll get a couple right, though, to go along with it to balance it out. Good on you, mate. Graham Fisher, g'day Graham, IMM. Hey DR, would appreciate your opinion on Matty Crouch at a juicy 482k. He's at a juicy price, man, isn't he? Look, I suppose it goes back to my rules going into this year. If you're going to select him at that price, and hey, it is at a juicy price, as you mentioned, because we've seen him at 600k before at stages during his career in Supercoach, but you're going to need for him to be a keeper, I think, mate. Now, look, I think he's a fantasy pig, really good fantasy. Supercoach, yeah, he's got Tom Mitchell vibes about him. How's he going to come back from injury? I'm really not too sure. Look, he's got potential, mate. Definitely got potential, but I don't see him ending up as a top 10 pick. And I'm really going to try to focus on fitting as many of those blokes in the side if I can. But look, could represent some value. We know what he's done in the past. He's had some really nice averages. But yeah, there's a few too many question marks on Matty Crouch for me at this stage, mate. But look, if you are going for someone around that mark in your midfield, which I'm not doing, But he would be a man that I would highly consider if you're doing that, mate. But yeah, not for me personally, buddy. But yeah, good name to throw out there anyway, Graham. Thanks, bud. Harry Aposto. G'day, Harry. How are you, brother? Hey, what are your thoughts on starting Jack Crisp or Lachie Whitfield? Well, I can tell you, mate, I'm losing sleep over it. And this is basically one of the only major picks in my team at the moment that is swapping from day to day. And it's Crisp, Whitfield, Crisp, Whitfield. I've already just talked quickly about Jack Crisp, about his role, about his durability, and that's probably what sets them apart, is that durability. You know, you look at Lachie Whitfield, and I'm probably, to be quite honest, expecting him to miss a few games during the season. I hope that he doesn't, and there have been a couple of seasons where he's managed to play most games, but Crispy is just that durable, isn't he? He's got a really consistent role in the midfield. I suppose Whitfield, where's he going to play? Mid, back, forward? I don't know. He can pretty much score well whenever. He's that seagull type player. And if you look at his history, he's got the biggest ceiling, Lachie Whitfield. And if you look at the price points as well, man, it almost puts Whitfield over the line, doesn't it? So that's the thing that I keep on coming back to, is that price point. You're saving about 70k selecting Whitfield over Crisp. I think that their averages could even end up being similar at the end of the season as well. So if you look at it that way, you think, well, it's a no-brainer, just select Lachie Whitfield. But again, I'm talking about averages, not overall points. If you're looking at overall points, I'm probably thinking Crisp is going to outscore him, because I don't expect him to miss a game. With Whitfield, I do, on the other hand. But look, it really also depends on what you can do with that extra 70k. So if I go Whitfield, I'm saving that money. I'm not going Jack Crisp. All right, where else am I going to invest that? What am I going to do with that 70k? So you need to answer these questions for yourself, mate, because your structure team's probably a little bit different to mine. But I love them both, mate. Durability, if you're looking for a player to play every game, it's Crisp. If you're looking for someone that presents a little bit more value, then it's Whitfield, I think, mate. Both good selections, though, I think, bud. 1980 Troya. I love the name, mate, because I'm an 80s boy. I've been doing everything 80s at the moment with my action figure collection. I hope you're well, buddy. Hey, McRae and Bont as starting picks this year. You know how I feel about Jack McRae, 100%. Bont, for me, is probably going to be an upgrade target, mate. Look, I've got him just in my top 10, I think. Well, my prediction for top 10 averages by the end of the season. But there's usually stages where he has a bit of a lean patch where you can jump on, mate. So, McRae, definitely. Look, Bont is a starting pick. Go for it, mate. Like, I'm not going to try to talk you out of a Bont pick. There's just players that I like a little bit better. So, I don't think it's a bad starting pick. But there's other players that I like better, mate. But all in on Jack McRae. Cheers, buddy. Corey Blackledge. G'day, Causa. How are you, my man? What's a better option? Ridley, Maynard, or Short? Interesting players, mate. Really like Maynard. My defence is may play midfield. Need to pick a D3. And then I can see the other one's a bit of a... Oh, sorry, I'm going to reply there. A bit of a midfield question. So, first one, Ridley, Maynard, or Short? All right, if Maynard finds himself in the midfield as a bit of a permanent midfielder, I like Maynard, because, as I've mentioned before, I like the accumulators more. I think gives some really good stuff there. Maybe that real contested type. I'm sure he'd love to tackle in there, put a lot of pressure there. Short, again, I selected him last year, but I was really disappointed. Oh, not really disappointed, but I was disappointed with the pick at the end of the day. Hooley's not there now, so maybe his average bumps back up. It could be an okay selection. And Ridley, I am a fan of Ridley. I didn't start him last year. I bloody brought him in for Lachie Neale, and that was looking like a master stroke, and then he gets concussed, and we know the story with Ridley. But look, I think that Jake Kelly coming in could actually help him out. What's their back six going to look like? Is McDonough going to be down there? I'm not too sure. That won't affect Ridley, I know, but the kick-ins, I'm not sure what's going to happen. But look, if Maynard plays back, then I like Ridley, Maynard, then Short. But if Maynard plays in the midfield, I'd probably chuck him just ahead of Ridley. But, yeah, I think all three could work out in some way, mate. McRae, Still, Miller, Bont, and Mitchell, good mids. Don't want Neale. Yeah, if you don't want Neale, man, fair enough, not a problem. Those five are fine, mate. Yep, not a prob at all with that. I've just obviously got Clary and Neale for your Mitch and Bont, mate. So, yeah, either way, mate, could work out. Mitch Brown, how are you, brother? Oh, yeah. Hey, mate, do you remember a fight you had with a couple of boys at a basketball game a few months ago? there was a bit of testosterone getting flowing around there, Mitch. I did mention, mate, at the end of this, if anyone's interested, I will tell the quick story, mate. But it was a bit of a funny one, actually, Mitch. I'm assuming. Oh, Mitch, you work at Coles, don't you, mate? Just down the road, mate. That's right. You must know a few of these blokes from the other side, mate. We're just a bunch of old fellas these days, mate. But there were some young guns in that side, mate. Bloody better basketballs than us. I'll tell you that much, mate. But I'll get to that bit of what time at the end of the video, dude. And Simon, g'day Simon. This is the sexiest looking man I've ever seen. Regards, Simo. Simo is a good mate of mine, so I know Simo outside of Supercoach, one of my poker buddies as well. But look, Simo, I think you need your eyes checked here, buddy. This head is much better for radio. For the first year and a half of the channel, I didn't have the face cam on because I'm like, no one's going to want to see my head. But I appreciate the kind words, mate. Kisses for you, my man. Right, so on to the Twitter questions. First one's from Frogger. G'day, Frogger. How are you, man? If you could only lock in one genuine primo at R1, who would be your starting R2 and R3? Well, look, mate, as you know, I'm going the set and forget. If I could only lock in one, it would have to be Darcy, because I just think that he's got absolute monster written all over him, and his ceiling is just through the roof. So Darcy probably R1 for me, my number one selection at this stage. If I was only going to lock him in, my R2 and R3, it's so dangerous, but look, maybe a Rowan Marshall. Now, the issue, and I was even looking at a Marshall myself in this combo, going someone cheaper, you like a Rowan, and pair him with Darcy. But if I look at those two as a pair, it's durability, it's injury concern. Are both of them going to be able to stay on the park? I'm not too sure. I'm happy to maybe take one, being Darcy, simply because of his ceiling. But if I was to start another bloke, you could look at a Big O maybe. How's Darcy Fort going to affect him? I'm not too sure, because I know that they plan on playing him predominantly on the forward line at this stage, but who knows there. Look, my high advice, mate, would just be to just set and forget with it. But yeah, maybe a Rowan Marshall, Big O type player, mate. And at R3, well, you'd probably need to go with someone like a Bruce Max Lynch. But I'm hopeful that, now what's his name from Port? Hayes. I'm hopeful that Hayes may get a game. I'm just going set and forget with Hayes personally, mate. Jaden Short, worthy of a higher starting ownership with Hooley retirement. I actually mentioned that just before, mate, with Hooley retirement. I think that means better things for Jaden Short. Jordan Goey versus Adam Treloar. Oh, mate, they're both, in my opinion, really risky selections, but for different reasons. Treloar, just that durability, mate. His hammies really still worry me. I just think he'll miss games of football, but the potential there is at a really juicy type price for what he can produce if he is on the field. Jordan De Goey, it's that NDHP factor. He's had no sort of preseason. Well, I don't know what his preseason's been like. It certainly hasn't been with the club. We know that. He's been there for a short period of time now, I know. But look, if I was to select one, I'd probably go Treloar, mate. I'm assuming that he's had a pretty solid preseason. I'm not really interested in the pick myself because of durability, so I haven't really been following that. But given the fact that I know De Goey's preseason has been really, really interrupted with lots of other things going on off the field, I'd probably go Treloar if I was to select out of the two, mate. Omac, viable at R2. Yeah, well, he's probably one of those blokes that I would look to select if you're really, really dead set keen on going only the one Uber as your R3, mate. Could take another step forward, is the most professional player at the club. Type of bloke that in team meetings takes down notes, does a lot of extra work off the field, and this is recognised within the walls of Brisbane, definitely. So could be a viable one, mate, but I'm not willing to take the risk just in case it doesn't go right, I suppose. And Jared Berry, lock with a good preseason. For me, he is, mate. But I'm starting to have a little bit of an issue, and this is the fact that I think I may be a little bit too light in my defensive line, and having Berry there, it does make that difficult to change that structure. But for me, with his history, I love him as a player. He's my favourite player in the comp. So for me, it's going to be a really enjoyable pick, and you've got to have a bit of fun with the game, I think. Yeah, I think he's a bit of a lock with a good preseason, mate. But it does depend on your structure. I think he'd be an ideal M5 if you're going for just the 4 Ubers in your midfield anyway, mate. But some great questions there, Frogger. Hope that you're well, buddy. Dons 2000. G'day, Dons. How are you, man? Thoughts on job security on Kitty Coleman, the Lions backline? How are the rookies at the Lions looking? I tell you, mate, the rookies at the Lions are actually looking really good at this stage, but it's a hard side to crack into, bud. The job security of Kitty Coleman. Now, this is another reason why I've put my Lions team review video back, because my read is on, it's off, new info comes through. Now, this is going to be, in my opinion, the most highly contested spot in the side going into this year. That role that Kitty Coleman will probably look to play. Look, for a start, you've got the three big guys. So you've got your Adams, Harris Andrews, and then Darcy Gardner. So they're three that are pretty much locked in. You've got Starcevich to lock there. You've got Rich that's locked there. So Starcevich and Rich isn't going to move. He's going to play that role. He's going to continue. You've got four players there. Starcevich, the only way that he will be out of that role is if they want him to spend a little bit more time in the midfield, because I think that he can actually be a capable midfielder. But in my opinion, he was unlucky not to be in the All-Australian squad last year. So, look, I think it'll be hard to move him out. And then you've got Noah Answorth that's coming back. I really rate him, and I think that Chris Fagan actually sees him in the best 22. There's another player that's there. You've got a Jimmy Madden that's that quick, pacey half-back type that did get some exposure to senior footy last year. He's certainly around the mix. Then it's obviously Coleman as well. You've got another bloke that's probably not going to push, I don't think, this year. Uosis, I think you pronounce his name. It's a bit of a tough one, an Irishman who's got similar traits, I think, to Jimmy Madden. There's another bloke there. You've obviously got Darcy Wilmot as well, who's apparently already, talking in front of the group. What I mean by that is, addressing the group, giving these senior players feedback, which takes a lot of balls, but it is really respected at the same time as well. So he's been going really, really well. I know they love his aggression. They rate him. Do they prefer to maybe give him a bit of time in the knee full just to work on that development side of things? We know that he's the youngest player selected in last year's draft, but one of the toughest at the same time. I'm not too sure. So when we're talking about job security, mate, the good thing with Kitty Coleman is that he can play a few different roles. He can play as that half-forward type, putting some pressure on there. Maybe a potential wingman. I'm not too sure, but I do like what I see Kitty Coleman in the back line. But job security at this stage, look, he's borderline best 22, probably in my best 22 though, personally. But I'm not the coaching staff at the Lions, mate. But a really, really good question. Other rookies there at the Lions, yeah, I don't think, Lohman has been lighting it up, they think. Huge X-Factor type player. But, that forward line, it's pretty stacked at the moment. Going to be really, really hard to get a spot there, I think. And the other guy, Tunstall, yeah, a big body type midfielder. He'll need to wait his time. He'll be playing a lot of NEFL football, I think, mate. But great question there, buddy. And tune in for my Brisbane Lions team review. Hopefully, mate, within the next week. I'm just toing and froing with some opinions that I've got, mate. And it's not normally like that at this stage for me when it comes to Lions. Our next one is the Magic Gnome. How are you, champion? Hope you're going well, mate. McRae, Steele, Toot, Clary, Titch, Neil, Bont, Walsh. That's a bloody good list, isn't it, mate? Probably only room for 5 of them in the starting team. Who missed out, though, for me? Bont and Walsh, I can ride off. Same as me, dude. We're really thinking on the same lines there. After that, I struggle to cut anyone else. Wish I could start all 6. I wish that you could too, mate. Look, for me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, yeah, I'd go, if I was to drop another one, mate, it would be Titch for me. Just. But again, it's just personal preference. If you've been watching the video so far, mate, I've talked a lot on that. So probably just Titch for me, mate. But I could have absolute egg on my face at the end of the season. Also, when picking, but I do feel your pain, brother. I feel your pain. Also, when picking a starting team, do you pay any attention to the early fixtures, e.g. likely tags? I have in the past, mate, but I felt that at the end of the day, that hasn't allowed me to end up selecting some of the blokes that I wanted to start with that maybe I didn't during the season because of their high price tag. Last season, whilst I'm disappointed I started Clary, his round 2 tag, which I did consider when starting him, when he dropped a fair bit of price early on. And again, that was true, mate. I suppose when you're looking at something like that is, he does drop a little bit early on, but who's got the money at that stage to actually jump onto him? So if you're talking really early on the season, none of the cash cows have moved enough to make enough money from to trade them out and then get someone like a Clary in. The only thing that people could look to do is maybe sideways, which again, you're losing a trade there, and trades are gold. So even though they may have a tough round, maybe in the first 3, short term, it's going to look really bad and like, oh no, what's going on? I knew that this would happen. But after that, they should rise up pretty quickly again, mate. And I don't think that teams will have enough time to actually select these blokes early on the season. So to answer that question, mate, no, I don't. And yeah, I can live with a bit of a tag because I think the average will just go back up. We're talking about the champions of Supercoach here, mate. So, yeah, it's a really good question, though, and a very valid question as well, buddy. Hope you're well, champ. Next one, Supercoach Pod. How are you, bro? Hope that you're doing some stuff again this year as well, mate. Hope you're well, dude. Hey, mate, hope you're well. You also, but was wondering your thoughts on Zach Bailey and Cameron. So there have been a few Lions questions here, which I love. How much mid-time we should expect from both this season? Man, it's a really good question, because if you had asked me a couple of weeks ago, particularly on Rayner, I would have said probably not much, mate. They want to ease him into that forward line role. But hey, apparently he's really worked on his running and he's looking to play some fair minutes in there. I can't tell you at this stage, mate. It could be 30, 40. I really don't know, buddy. Sorry. So, yeah, I'll listen out, though, and give you all the info that I've got, mate, about the Brisbane players. So that's Cam Rayner. Zach Bailey. This is the issue, mate. If he was a full-time midfielder, I would select him in an absolute heartbeat. This bloke's talent is through the roof. If you redo that draft, he's top 5 easily for me with his talent. The issue for him is that he's so good in what he currently does, and that's sort of that half-forward role floating through the midfield. Now, he hits the scoreboard, you know, he's a really accurate shot for goal. He's a clutch-type player. He just offers so much in that role, similar like a Toby Green. I'm not saying they're, you know, exact like-for-like type players, but the point why I'm bringing up Toby Green is that he's so effective in that forward line role, even though he probably could be an elite midfielder. We've seen what he's able to do through the midfield, but they just probably need to keep him there because he's so good at what he does in the forward line, although he does have the potential to run through that midfield, and he often does at stages as well when they really need him there, when they're desperate. But with a Zach Bailey, potential is absolutely through the roof. If he does get a lot of midfield time, this bloke could be anything, I think, in my opinion. And I know maybe a bit of Brisbane bias here, mate, but I love Zach the Ruck Bailey. I don't love his role, though, for Supercoach at this stage. So, you know, he's worked on his accumulation last year, upped his disposal rate, which is really nice, but I think you really need to continue to do that and be guaranteed midfield minutes for us to select him. But the fact he's available in the forward line, mate, is really tempting. We'll definitely keep a close eye on him, buddy. Really good question there. Thanks, mate. Next one, David Meyer. G'day, Dave. How are you, champ? How do you really keen on hearing about your forward premium strategy? Dunks, Duncan, Butters, Dusty. Well, I've currently got 2 of them, mate, which is Dunks and Butters. Dunks, for me, is an absolute lock, mate. We saw what this man can do when he's played through the midfield. Even forward, worst case scenario, I think he'll probably average with his price stat. So for me, I'm absolutely locking him, mate. Butters, I'm a big fan of as well, but with JD's question before, you know, who are you really worried about out of all the popular selected players? Then it's probably him, because we haven't seen it for a full season. Bit of an untapped potential type pick, maybe even similar to a Zach Bailey, but I think that Butters will have a bit more of a friendly role. I'm hoping anyway, run through that midfield a little bit more, but it could be pretty similar type picks, Butters and Zach Bailey. Duncan, mate, George did a really good video on Geelong, and he almost sold me this Duncan pick. Now, when I say he sold me the pick, yeah, I don't think he's currently got Duncan, but there's a lot to like about him, mate, particularly if he comes off that half-back line. He could score around the 110-plus range if all things go well, but he's at that age where I'm not really keen on him, mate, because of that durability. But again, he's more of an upgrade target for me, so I'm more of a see how he goes, and I'd be prepared to pay an extra 50k if I have to for him, mate, if he goes up in price. So not as a starting pick, but definitely as an upgrade at some stage. And Dusty, I'm just not doing it this year, man. You know, I selected him, I traded him in just before the price changes, so I ended up going out Neil and out Phillips from Hawthorn, which is an absolute train wreck of a pick, and that's why I'm not stuffing around with those type of picks this year at that price point. And I brought in Dusty in my forward line, and I brought in Ridley somehow with some DPP, I think it was. And just, yeah, it was a bit of FOMO with Dusty, but he just let me down, mate. Look, it could be anything. We know what Dusty can do, but I'm just staying away from you, mate. I'm going to try not to get sucked in. Even if he has a really hot start to the season, I'm probably just going to stay away from him, but that's because he did really, really burn me last year. Could work out. Personally, not for me, though, buddy. Also, the DeGoey option, no preseason, mate. Or when we say no preseason, don't know what he's done. As I'm repeating myself before, but if there's any major concerns about a premium's lead up into the season, I'm just not going near him. DeGoey fits a bill with that, so probably not going there, mate. Again, just personal preference, though, bud. Thanks for the question, dude. I think we've got a few more here. You're almost done. Gator, hey mate, how are you, buddy? Do you think it's a shout to only start 2 premium forwards for an uber primo extra on the midfield with forward options not being great? Exactly what I'm doing, mate. So I've got Dunks, and then I go all the way down to a Butters. So look, that's a little bit risky. I may need to change that, but currently that is exactly what I am doing, mate. If you're even going to call Butters a premium, I may be going even lighter than what you're thinking, bud. But yeah, I think it is okay, mate. Depending on what rookies we get there as well. Corey, how are you, Cause? Thoughts on Cam Rayner as a 278 forward? Think I've answered that one, mate. Definitely just we'll monitor his progress, bud, and see how we go. Kelza, g'day Kelza. Hey dear, what ruck strategy are you planning on using? I'm butchering this now, getting towards the end of the video. I think I've answered this one as well, mate. So absolute set and forget for me. It's going to be Darcy and Grundy at this stage, Sam Hayes at R3, I think for me, buddy. Kata, now talk about a legend, a Supercoach talk legend. Yeah, I've been in leagues with Kata for years and years. Hope that you're well, legend. G'day dear, Happy New Year, and to you too, bud. Looking for a few value picks in my round 1 side I'm seriously eyeing off. If fit, it's Charlie Curnow. Do you know what, mate? I've had Will Brodie in for a fair while. I've just got Curnow in place for him, mate. So I have alluded to a player that I've swapped out for Brodie or put in for Brodie, and it is this man. And the reason for it being, mate, and now look, I love Brodie's role a lot better as that inside midfielder. I think his scoring potential is a lot better. But if I'm paying over 200k for a bloke, it's got to be related to job security. And Curnow, if fit, we know that he plays each and every week, mate. I think that he has the potential to maybe snag a few bags early on during the season as well. So if he can have a couple of games where he goes, a 4 or a 5, then bang, that average is going to go right up short term. And I think he's got the potential to do that, mate. So look, what's his season average going to be? I'm really not too sure. But if he goes big at the right times, I think he could be an awesome pick, mate. Not only is a stepping stone, but someone that we can fit into our team at a lower type price that we know is going to be best 22 each week. I think job security is really, really important for that one there, mate. So, yeah, great question. I do actually like him, mate, currently in my side, but nowhere near locked or anything, buddy. I just like him better than the Brodie pick at this stage until I hear more positive things about Brodie. You're saving a lot of money on a Cam Rayner type, and we've all got cogs at this stage. So, yeah, don't mind you thinking, mate. They say great minds think alike, Cutter, and Curnow for me is currently in, bud. Currently in. Happy New Year to you as well, bud. 2 more. So, got the break evens. How are you, mate? DR, the big question for my team is Tuke versus Clary. Man, you're asking me to say which son I love the most. Can you only pick one? Love your opinion. Man, it's just Tuke for me. Reasons I've already given during the video, mate. But those reasons are just so slight. Did I even give any reasons? I don't know. It's just because I just love Tuke, mate. Just love Tuke. But they're both going to be solid picks in my opinion, which is why I'm just going to start with both of them at this stage, bud. If I'm picking one, though, it's my man Tuke, I think. And the last one we got here is from Mardo. G'day, Mardo. How are you, man? Which of the 600k plus mids are you most keen on? Also, your best breakout mid option. So, well, if I give you my top 5, mate, it's McRae, Steele, Tuke, Oliver, and Lockie Neal. Then I like Mitchell, Sammy Walsh as the next sort of premiums there. Then you're looking at your Bont types. I think the best breakout mid option, I think, is Angus Brayshaw. I put out a tweet the other day, just a random thought, like Huey McCluggage. I tell you, mate, if he had more of an inside midfield role rather than just that, well, predominant wing role, then this bloke could be anything. He's the next Sam Walsh if he gets the Sam Walsh role that Walsh had in 2021. He could absolutely break out, mate, an absolute Rolls Royce. I love Huey McCluggage, but it's all about that role and a lot of ifs there, so probably tough to start him. And the other one I really like is Sarong as well from Freo, mate. He's an absolute out-and-out superstar, I think. An absolute young gun. And the role's there for him. So I think he's the second picked midfielder in that side. Brayshaw and then probably Sarong. Love both of those blokes, mate. And would not be surprised whatsoever to see him break out. I think Brayshaw has the potential to be top 10 possibly. Sarong may be just a little bit below that, mate. But yeah, probably those 3 names are 3 blokes that I'll just chuck out there as midfield breakout options. And look, we can't discount Matty Rao. I was talking him up so much after 3 games. I said, he's winning a Brownlow, all this sort of stuff. Rao's probably another one, mate. A lot cheaper than the other blokes that I just mentioned, but again, this bloke could be absolutely anything. So I think they're all the questions, guys. Thank you very much for everyone that did leave a question or even a comment. Really appreciate it. I may not have had all the answers there. A few similar questions about those big boys in the midfield. Really, really hard to split them, though, to be quite honest. A few questions about Brisbane as well. I will make sure that I get this team review out because, yeah, trouble is a lot of water to go under the bridge at this stage. Same as structure as well. The rookies always dictate that. But, yeah, I'll leave it at that for now because I don't know how long the video's even gone for. I assume it's been even for an hour now. So I will leave it there, guys. Stay safe. Much love. Peace all around. And I'll see you in the next one. Good luck with your planning. See you guys. Bye.